Hi, everybody. Yeah, I just wanted to be a little silly. Part of the reason I'm being silly is if you're going to referee, DM, judge, you're going to end up doing silly things. So start practicing being silly. You can do this in the privacy of your own home, away from other people's prying eyes. Though if you do it at work, you can cause fear, and sometimes that's a good thing. Psychological warfare on your coworkers. All right, my coworkers are broken in now. I can't scare them. They know better. They know I'm a big softy. All right, when you hurt a fly, normally. So, what's today's video on? Well, working on an adventure, not for fantasy role-playing game, but for what I call the space opera games. Out in space, lost in space, all those kinds of games. Star Trek, Traveler, Star Wars, Space 1999 from the TV shows, movies, books like Space Viking, Oh, you could crossover though. Read The High Crusades by, Paul, I want to say Anderson. I think that's his name. He did the Three Lions Heart book everybody talks about for D&D. He did some better books for D&D. I'm going to tell you right now. He did some better books. Because everybody says that book's boring. I haven't been able to find it to read. Not one I've read yet. But I guess that's where the Scottish accent comes on all the dwarves that we're stuck with now forever and ever. He did some other books. And the two books of his that I've read, gosh, I can't remember the name of one of them. I read that one last summer. They're good. One of them was about Law and Chaos. It was really awesome. Yeah, and the other one was about what happens when a whole medieval village and army ends up on an alien spaceship and stuck out in space, but they have a medieval understanding of everything. What happens? Why they do what armies do. In the name of God, of course. Yeah, it's that book's just fun, just plain fun to read. So if you ever wanted to mix your sci-fi with your fantasy, I suggest that book, The High Crusade. Okay, so I'm working on a background for a space theme. And I've made comments because obviously I'm doing something right. I'm going over the aliens and stuff like that. And so the question comes into how pulpy is it going to be? Is it going to be like 1950s pulpy on Earth, or is it going to be... No, this is going to be more, they're out in space. But I'm pulling stuff forward that I like from older sci-fi and other sci-fi games. So I thought this would be a good opportunity, though, to talk about settings, making choices, that kind of stuff. So the first choice you have to make is what kind of... And so we're talking about backgrounds in general. Not world building, but it will become world building. You're like, well, how do you keep it simple? I'm a big supporter of keeping it simple. Stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. That's the way I learned it. KISS, okay? And some people leave off that back part, but there's a reason for it. So keeping it simple. You want to do that. For one thing, you'll drive yourself nuts. You'll turn into a novel writer. You'll turn into a screenplay writer. You'll turn into all these other things that aren't going to serve you as the referee. Referees, you need to make only so much information. Game designers is kind of the same way, guys. Sometimes I get it when a game's been around or a setting's been around for a long time. Obviously, when stuff builds up, like Traveler's been around for a long time, so it not only has a huge amount of information that it came out of Classic Traveler, um, but it has and fans and stuff, but it has a huge amount of information each time it was represented by a different company, different editions, all that kind of stuff. Even alternate timelines, like GURP, what happens in GURPS and what happens in another Traveler timeline, they can be different. So you're like, oh, they are? Yeah, they can be. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The original Traveler, in 1977 Traveler, none of that existed yet. So I'm kind of in that zone for my space campaign. Like, to that very basic layer, right? Am I using everything from Traveler? I'm going to use some things from Traveler. I'm going to use some things from Star Frontiers. I'm going to use some things from who knows where. I mean, lots of different stuff, right? So, Frontier Space, which is more modern, from books, from GURPS, from other settings, completely. Yeah, I'm just going to be pilfering because that's what you do. That's what you do when you make adventures and stuff. All these ideas from forever that you've been collecting your whole life are there, right? From so many sources, and you start pulling what you want to do. All right. So you got to look at when you first start. So I'm first starting. I'm going to be presenting the universe, the beginning of that, to these players, right? This is a fresh slate. I can do anything I want. We could go Star Trek and we could play Star Wars. We could do whatever, right? I can go in any direction. So here's how I approached it. The first thing I had to decide was on the rule set. It's important because of how I wanted to start the game. Okay, so I decided finally on Frontier Space. So I'm really taking a good look at Frontier Space's rules right now, and refamiliarizing myself with them. I have played it before, but it was a while ago, and while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about all the stuff I'm going to need just to get the adventure made. Just to run through the adventure, right? Basic concepts I have going on, and I'm starting to sketch out everything. I made the little moon base are going to be on, and started to write out little notes all over the place. But at the same time, that raises a whole lot of questions. The adventure I'm having them go on will naturally cause questions because it's supposed to cause questions. That way, they start learning stuff. And if they keep with the adventures, they'll keep learning stuff. Right? So, I don't have a pre-made module. No. They get to go through my own lame adventure. That's right. So, why are they on the moon base? What's happening on the moon base? What is the moon base relative to other things? These are all questions you have to answer. So, first thing I decided was that they were out. They've been in cryo. They're going to be waking up from cryo. They're on ice. Okay, guys. I can't talk. I cannot talk. Can't do it. Can't do it today. Okay. And why my coworkers make fun of me. All right. So they're in deep freeze. They've been in deep freeze a long time. When they wake up, they're going to have amnesia. They're not going to know where they are. They're not going to know what's going on. There's some kind of emergency happening. That's why they've been woken up. That the computer, who's been the smart house computer that's been running everything on the space for a while. It's not quite right, but it's still been maintaining everything. And with this, it's got some robots, and something's happened that's causing it to be upset. All right, that the players need to go deal with, but of course they first got to get successfully unfrozen. They've got it, I'm creating challenges is what's going on. There's going to be all these different challenges to get to the thing that they got to do to stop the first problem. But that's only problem number one, because there'll be another problem that they have to deal with, kind of situation. Each problem will also allow them to find out about things. But whether they find out the information I've outlined now for the setting or not, I don't know. They have to survive, right? But for the setting, I ended up with a lot of questions like, why are they on the moon base? Why has nobody come back to the moon base? Like, why is it abandoned in the condition it's in? What happened that they would get left on a small government type research facility, or a small corporation's facility? Haven't decided which yet. But why would basically your defense and military research people not come back, right? Why would they abandon a facility and leave people behind? Why would they do that? They left them in cold freeze, but something happened, right? And then they're going to find stuff, including naturally mummified bodies are going to be in the base. So they're going to find all these clues as they're going around doing stuff and stumbling around in the dark and trying to get lights on and all that good stuff. I'm going to try to make it good and scary. And they're going to be asking the same questions, like, who are we? What are we doing here? Where are we? Oh, we're on the moon. Okay, right. They're going to be discovering things as underground, by the way. So they they're going to have to get things up and running throughout the base, and work their way to the problem to shut down that particular problem before the next thing gets triggered. And there's going to be questions. And if they successfully get off the base, there's going to be more questions. So I've sat down and started thinking about, first of all, the type of environment I wanted the adventures to be set in. And this is an adventure. So I'm going to assume, making a slight assumption here, that there'll be adventures past this particular one. Right? If you're only doing one shots, then all you got to worry about is the one shot. Boom. Yeah. This I'm going to set up as a one shot, but with the possibility of more to come. So that's why I said 1977 Traveler is more the vibe. In 1977 Traveler, space was dangerous. It's not the same as 1981. Is that when the second version of Traveler came out? Might be. That has a more stabilized space happening. There's an empire, and there's more control by the government, and there's safe areas, and there's color coding to the zones and all that, right? So the kind of space I want is more like 1977 Traveler. I don't remember when Star Empires came out, but Star Empires had a timeline of stuff that happened. And they were coming out, the galaxy was coming out of a dark age. So not exactly safe space is what I'm getting at. Okay. So Star Empire's timeline was, they've been in a long dark age. And now they're coming out, all these different colonies, all these different civilizations, all alien civilizations, and they're reaching for the stars, and they're starting to zip around the galaxy. And yeah, new empires will be forged. It's kind of like Star Empire's point of view. And in a way, Traveler picks that up by the time you get to the 1980s version. So I want it more in that gritty sort of environment where, maybe this planet's going to be very nice and civilized and the people there are going to be awesome. And then you go to the next planet and let's see, how did Space Vikings put it? Neo-barbarians, which I love that term, neo-barbarians. I think we got a bunch of neo-barbarians running around now where they've regressed and they're very good at destroying themselves and others. And the other humans don't look at them as civilized. They look at it as barbarians, and it's okay to go kill them. They're fighting over what political system on the planet's going to be in charge, and they're nuking each other still, stuff like that. They're not behaving in a way that the other human civilizations, which there are several, care about, right? They just don't, so they do terrible things, they are murder hobos, and so they're out there raiding. That's why it's called Space Vikings. So I want more of diversity. I don't want necessarily a big cohesive empire yet in the game. Yet. I haven't decided if they've had official first contact with another species yet. They might have, and they might have had unofficial first contact. I do know what caused the abandonment of the base, if you will, why nobody ever came back, and the crew just died there. And I know what killed them. And I know what effect that had on colony after colony, and not just human colonies, but other theoretical species that could be out there, colonies, whether or not humans have really know that they're out there or not. I know that humans know that, for instance, there were ancient civilizations because they found artifacts and stuff, abandoned cities and things like that. Some of the planets they colonized. So that resulted in them making some potentially deadly decisions for, dangerous decisions for our space adventures that they'll have to overcome. But also, these are literal lurking time bombs on space stations and bases and colonies throughout human space, if you will, or past human space. And I know that the homeworlds are now in a situation, the core systems, the ones closest, core planets, stuff like that, to each of the homeworlds. Because everybody ended up retracting and abandoning and leaving people to their own, because of what had happened. And so now everybody's coming out. So very much like the Dark Age thing from Star Empires, but what caused it is something else, but nobody knows where that came from. So they're going to be starting their way out again in space to say, hi, we're here to rescue you and put you back under our authority, which, that never goes well. For people who've been living independent for a long time, right? Don't even, you guys are what? You know, we haven't heard from planet Earth in hundreds of years, right? you know, guess what, buddy? You can stick it. We're not paying taxes, right? I mean, seriously, it's not going to go well, you know. Um, but anyway, so they're starting to do their things. Plus, you've got colony worlds that did better than other colony worlds in the emergency, and so they've organized and they've um, got their system and they've got their bases and stuff, and they're starting to expand again as well. So it's very much a different kind of setting that I want to create. I want to create this sort of more that kind of setting than there's an ancient empire that's been running things forever, which is what Modern Travelers were like. Not to say there isn't adventure in that setting, there absolutely is. I just want something grittier. That's all. More chaotic. Um, you never know which way a planet's going to go, population, things like that. Um, so, and I want the players to be coming from a thing where when they were around, when they were, not on the ice, they things were organized. The colonies were under all one authority, right? Earth was the Earth government, the Terran government, the stellar Terran government, whatever I decide to call it, was organized and controlling things, and they're getting kicked right into what the heck's going on, right? As they start to find out information, dealing with scavengers and pirates and mutants and all sorts of things. What happened, because they'll be able to retrieve enough information to go, look, obviously, everything was in a much more better state, and then now we got this. What happened? So I want them to have those what happened questions. But I don't have to answer every question either, which is what I'm getting at. I just have to answer enough questions for myself to create my map, which is just pretty much scribbles, and start outlining what's in every room, and determining what things do, like what can the robots do, for instance, what they can't, what kind of control and communication systems, things like that are on the base. If there's a spaceship available, which there's going to have to be one available, how big is it? What might the deck plans be like? What's the crew of that ship like? Things like that. I've got to outline it. Like that. Is there any other threats besides robot, human, and artificial intelligence I have to worry about, like a ticking time bomb? Do they have to worry about? And then what sort of information do I want them finding out? Now, since the way I'm doing the adventure is one of discovery, including who they are, all that stuff will have to come out in the adventure. So I'll have to organize myself in a way that I can make that happen. But it has to be interactive with what the players are role playing as well. So I have to keep it a lot more sketchy and a lot more roller coastery. I have to be flexible like a palm tree and not rigid like an oak tree. Both produce nuts, but one in high winds gets ripped out of the ground and tumbled over, and the other one doesn't. So that is what I have to be. I have to be a lot more flexible, because I have to allow the role players, the folks doing the player characters, to put input in that affects the setting a bit, like a lot. So, like I said, what I'm planning to do is kind of ambitious, so I'm prepping it. Seriously, I'm reading stuff and thinking about stuff and then making notes, and I'm getting to the point now where I can actually start making some NPCs. I think I know what I'm going to need them to be like, So, but there's going to be this big mystery. And if they survive and get to someplace else, might borrow a planet from Star Frontiers because I like the name of it. Um, um, they're going to have to figure out why everybody seems to think they know who they are, even though the player characters just have started to figure that out and they don't even know, but everybody's terrified of them. Like, why? Right? They've been on ice for like a super long time. Why would people be afraid of them? Even know who they are, right? So, I remember they were in a research center, and they didn't die because they were in cryo. So, yeah, there's a reason. And so I've put some stuff down. They're ideas, and the thing is if an idea doesn't look like it's going to work out, and you've got like a very flexible framework, you can just cross that out and move on. But if you've got a very rigid, interconnected, gotta tell this in-depth story, you can't. So like, I'm speaking in a lot of generalities and vagueness right now. This is the direction I think we'll go with this, but something can happen. Like they survived the first adventure, get off the moon base. Whatever happens to the moon base, and so they're out in space, but quite possibly because of stuff that happens in the game, something comes up that's going to make a much better story than what I was thinking, and I'm going to end up running with that. That's why you don't want to get too attached to like ideas way down the road. Just don't focus on the one that you're setting off with. I just needed to answer some general questions about what kind of universe are they waking up in. And the universe does, in fact, have aliens in it. See, answered a question. Don't know if humans have met them yet or not. I haven't decided. Don't know if humans and them have met, but the humans don't know that they've met. That could happen. I do know that humans know that alien civilizations have existed because they've found them. They're ruins, some artifacts and stuff. So okay, this caused them to take some extreme measures out of fear of human technology, being confiscated by aliens, who might be hostile. So alien invasion, just nuke your colony, man. Boom. Vaporize everything. Vaporize that space station. Everybody, families, kids, everybody, they gotta die for the good of the rest of humanity. That was kind of like the old school approach. And I'm actually borrowing that from an actual sci-fi radio show story. So, and I am very inclined to make the possibility that, yes, they've already met aliens and have it be one of the species from Star Frontiers, but they're not nice like they are in Star Frontiers. I'm kind of inclined. I haven't totally decided, though. Could be a different species. Well, my point being is that there was some stuff going on that in the past didn't quite make it back to the homework. I know I've made the decision that you can't radio subspace, and talk to Starfleet Command, so to speak, easily. The spaceships really do have to bring the messages back and forth, and everybody's kind of got to do that. Nobody's figured out a good communication system yet. So that slows down communication, which I want. So I've got some, like I said, some specific and some vague ideas. Jump routes, route buoys, the possibility of jump nexuses. I got these ideas. Some of them come from very, very, very old tactical war, war games. Some of them come from old Traveler. Some of them come from old games like Star Frontiers. So I'm pulling on a lot of old game stuff, and I'm going, nice. But we're gonna modernize it. We're gonna put it on more modern doohickeys and whatnot, and because that's what I want to do. But I want to create a very specific feel. And you still got your colonies, your lost colonies, your pioneers out there. The frontier is the frontier. It's not part of the empire anymore. The empire that was, Earth Central, it's it's not what it was. But they're back, you know. And the same goes for any other species I plop in the universe. Somebody's going to be responsible for what happened. Who that is? And there's going to be more than one what happened. That's how it goes. Usually in real life, a bad thing happens, and then it just turns into lots of other bad things that, like a domino effect, So like when a comet, asteroid, whatever, hits Earth, you got the initial impact and whatever that does to the area it hits. Like, they have found like areas where something hit from space and, everything just burnt in the, geology, vaporized. They know that there was a town there and now there wasn't, kind of situation. In one case, I think it caused the climate turmoil. I think one thing caused like flash freezing. And they know it was flash freezing because things literally froze perfectly up in the Andes, so that's, and now that things are thawing out, what they're finding, and it was from a flash freeze. The water, and then, so, when things like that happen, weird climate stuff happens because of one change, which was something hits the earth and change. Then you get famines, and famines cause disease and plagues can be more than disease. They can be, the animals, one kind of animal population becoming out of control. That causes another population to be out of control, like, water contaminated, air contaminated. I mean, it just like, just think the plagues of Egypt, man. Bad times, right? So sometimes all it takes is one change, in nature to like cause a whole sequence of events that will cause one thing after another thing after another thing to happen, and they're all bad. Next thing you know, people are walking around, they're the walking dead because they're starving to death, and they're eating their neighbors and their own kids. I mean, that's actually recorded in ancient cuneiform. Yeah, they had a famine. It was pretty bad. So yeah, it happened in ancient Egypt too. Yeah, there's a point where all the civilized Middle Eastern cultures kind of collapsed all of a sudden, and then they came back. And during that collapse period of chaos, they had area-wide famine going on. And they're trying to figure out what caused it. There's theories, but it was not a good scene. When you realize that sometimes, like a volcano going off on one side of the planet can cause something terrible on another side of the planet. Even if it's just a tsunami, but often it causes other things, like famine because of weather change, because of all the stuff that's been put up in the air. So that's what I'm getting at, is they're going into that kind of situation, but on a galactic level. Like, something bad happened, and they're going to figure it out. But then more bad stuff happened because of that bad thing. And you usually get wars then, too, and all that stuff. And I guarantee you that there will have been that kind of thing. And they're going out all naive, like, with no clue. Deer caught in the headlights. And that's the sort of beginning of the setting I want to have. Now, do I have like every planet planned out? No, but Earth's still around. I know that. Do I really don't. I don't even have the system, the whole solar system. The system this moon's in, what the moon's orbiting figured out. I don't, because it's not important. It's not, you're like, what? Yeah, I'll come up with a name and all that eventually, but it's not important. What's important is I make the moon base, and I make all the things, and I figure out what the conditions of success and survival are going to be, things like that. Once I have that nailed down, the NPCs, the monsters, all that kind of stuff, traps. Yeah, you can have space traps. Cursed weapons, cursed items. You can have that in a sci-fi game. Translation doesn't work right. Doesn't work as expected. When you have all that stuff, when I have all that stuff figured out, works better than expected. Blessed. Bless one, right? The game doesn't quite work like that, but you guys get where I'm going. There is a way to do that stuff, people, even in a sci-fi game. Then I can fill in, like, what kind of star is the planet's orbiting, and which planet is the moon orbiting, and what kind of planets are those, and okay, cool, I'm in my first system, for this setting. And it's way far away. It's way far away from Earth. They don't even know Earth exists because their brains are so scrambled. They're going to be discovering all that stuff if they get to the point to discover all that stuff eventually. So I don't have to worry about it yet. Same goes for your fantasy settings. So you're going to start. How are you going to start the players out? That's what you have to decide first. Really, that's what you have to decide. Are they from the same tribe? Are they from the same village? Or are they people who come from different backgrounds? Where are they gonna hook up? Why are they there? See, the same questions have to be asked. Who are they? What's around them? What are the points of interest? Challenges, problems, right? Who's in charge? Who's not in charge? Is anybody in charge? Right? You have to look at where you're putting them. What do you want them to go do? Right? Is there more than one thing they can go do? You could. Well, you're already numb. Laura, you stuck them, RPG Gamma, you stuck them on a base, and they're going to have to, yes, initially they're railroaded, because they got to learn how to play the game. And I want to do that in a somewhat controlled fashion, because none of them have played Frontier Space before. So I want to set up challenges for them to, at first, learn how to play the game. It's kindergarten class. Then, assuming they don't get themselves killed learning how to play the game, give them increased threats, increased challenges, and then hopefully get it to where they can escape and get in their means of traveling about the universe in the big sandbox. Then they won't be railroaded. But just for the beginning, it's okay, because they don't know what to do. They seriously, none of them have the rule books I have. They won't know what to do. So I have to give them all the cheat sheets about, okay, this is what you roll, and this is the dice that we're using, and go over all that and have them. I blew it down to see what the size would look like on my paper. That's too small. But all this information here, because I need to get it the right size for a notebook. And I'm going to put in the notebook. The notebook's not going to be this size paper. You're going to have to fill some of the stuff out for sure. And as they're playing. So that's what I'm looking at. What I'm getting at is you need a bare minimum skeleton to get your creative juices going in your brain, and to then start outlining some kind of flow about what you want the adventure to be like, what sort of things are going to be in that adventure area. So they're on this area of the moon. Yeah, could they conceivably end up someplace else on the moon instead of on the spaceship I'm planning for them? Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That little base that's on that moon is not the only base on that moon. It's just the other bases aren't in good shape. It's just happened that this little base is in good shape. The others, not so much. But could they end up um, escaping from this base and ending up going to one of these other facilities that'll be on the big map if they so access that map? So, in other words, I'm going to give them multiple outs, or try to. But one out is best, and another out not so good, but still salvageable, and that I can work with the situation. So I'm giving actually two escape possibilities there easily, maybe even a third. I haven't decided on the third yet for sure, but each one would result in a different outcome, though. So I'm really not railroading them. I'm just making sure I have them contained for a little point of time while they learn how to use their abilities, use their skills, and do combat, how to role play in this setting, that kind of stuff. So they get a feel. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I want out of the first adventure. Teach them to play the game. Get off the rock. Maybe. At least get someone safe on the rock. Or someone safe off the rock. Survive. And then from there, I can do more stuff. But I don't really need to know if there's 3,000 inhabited worlds or 10. I don't need that information yet, and they don't either. So the same thing applies to a fantasy game. They need to know what they're going to be dealing with in a relatively confined area, going to the place that they're going to go to do whatever they're going to do, get in there, start doing whatever they're supposed to be doing, right? That's the part that needs to be considered and fleshed out more than the whole planet. You can get to fleshing out the planet as you go. So sometimes I see people like, oh, I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to know. No, you don't. And when you're dealing with a setting that's pre-made, let's say I wanted to play in modern traveler setting of some sort, well, then I've got tons of resources. I can totally pull on that. It's just like Star Frontiers. It has some pre-made stuff that I can totally pull on. So if I wanted to do their setting, as is, in the box. And it's the same with fantasy settings. Like Ardoon is like huge. I'll have to show you the encyclopedia. It's massive for these times. That's good. Because I can look up any place on that planet and be like, what's over here, right? Same with Greyhawk. It's got stuff. I can look it up. Same with Forgotten Realms. There's some cool stuff. I'm not going to say there isn't. Great ideas. But sometimes you want to make your own thing. And that's where I'm at. I want to make my own thingy-ish thing. Am I going to borrow stuff from all sorts of games? Absolutely. Because there's things I like. There's certain kinds of aliens I like. So how they're going to be presented might be completely different than how they're presented in the official published material from such and such a company. But will they exist? Yes. Because Granny thinks it's cool. Rule of cool, that's a thing for real. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I know. I haven't done any reading. I'm taking a break. I'm kind of on vacation. Um, so I'm being a little less structured about my thoughts and the things I'm doing. So today I'm not feeling the best. So I'm going to go make NPCs because that'll be fun. And at any rate, everybody keep on rocking your game. Think about what you really actually need when you go to make a fresh setting. Oh, and you meet in a tavern. At some point, I'm going to have the and you meet in the space bar. Just because, you know, go to the pub, to the pub. But everybody have a great day. Peace. Keep on having fun, however you define that. I know some of you are like, I don't have fun when I do. Why are you doing it then? Just be honest. You like the challenge. That's your fun. It's cool. We're going to get you. I just call it, if I'm having a good time, challenges, figuring out the adventures, throwing a monkey wrench in another referee's game, helping another player or referee come up with something for their projects. That's having fun. The creativity. That's having fun. And like I said, though I prefer the role playing, if you want to do it the mechanical, roll initiative, you hit, roll for damage, you do 2 damage, slogfest and move the little minis around and all that stuff, I'm cool with that too. In fact, I might even make you train. If you're local and we're playing together, I'll be like, ooh, what do you want? I might be able to make that. No, seriously, I just love games. So, I'm easy to please. But I do know the difference between when people are role playing and they're not. So everybody have a good one. Let your inner child out. It's okay. That includes all you people who are like, I do this all the time and it's not having fun. Let your child out. It's okay. It's okay for your little kid inside to play. It's okay. An adult. You're probably younger than me. Let your child run free. Climb the imaginary tree of creativity. Let it out. It's okay. No one's going to judge you for smiling or laughing at the game table. You should be able to do a good chuckle every now and then, particularly when the players do dumb stuff. Come on. Anyway, everybody have a great day. All right. Peace.